I'm Nicole. Standing on the stage of the National Economic Forum in Washington, D.C. The applause thundering in my ears, I can't help but think back to how it all began. The journey that led me here was filled with challenges, betrayals, and ultimately, sweet revenge. 6 months ago, I was in the thick of a high-stakes acquisition. My company, Nova Mergers, was looking to buy out Sterling Industries. I remember walking into the boardroom for the first time. It was a room designed to intimidate, with massive mahogany tables and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The air conditioning was set so cold it felt like it could preserve an ice age. At the head of the table sat Mr. Thompson, the patriarch of Sterling Industries. He was a man of old money, having built his manufacturing empire from the ground up. I respected him. He was a shrewd businessman who played by the rules. But then there was his son, Jake. Jake was 30 years old, but he acted like a petulant teenager. He was scrolling through his phone while I was presenting the valuation of their logistics division. It was clear he had no interest in the meeting. I paused my presentation. In negotiations, showing weakness is a cardinal sin, so I didn't sigh. I just stopped speaking, and the silence in the room was palpable. Mr. Thompson looked up, his bushy eyebrows furrowing. "Nicole, is there an issue with the figures?" he asked. "No, Mr. Thompson," I replied calmly. "I'm just waiting for the board's full attention. This acquisition concerns the future of your family's legacy." Jake looked up, as if he'd just woken from a dream. He then made a huge mistake. He pointed at his empty coffee cup and said, "Coffee. Now." He didn't even look at me, he was still focused on his phone. I sat still, not giving an inch. Mr. Thompson's face started to turn red. He was clearly furious with his son's behavior. I leaned forward and said, "Jake, I think you've confused me with someone on your payroll. I'm the one writing the check that will keep your so-called entrepreneurial dreams alive." Jake whined and turned to his father. "Dad, are you going to let her talk to me like this?" That's when Mr. Thompson snapped. He stood up faster than I would have thought possible for a man his age and backhanded Jake across the face. The room went silent. Jake's head snapped back, and his phone skidded across the table. Mr. Thompson hissed, "Apologize to the CEO of the company we're trying to sell to. Apologize to the woman who is worth 10 of you." Jake held his cheek, his eyes wide with shock and humiliation. He mumbled an apology, but I made him repeat it louder. After that incident, Jake was seething with anger. 10 minutes later, he couldn't take it anymore. He stood up, knocked over his chair, and stormed out of the room. Mr. Thompson sank back into his chair, looking 10 years older. He apologized for Jake's behavior, but I knew that Jake was a problem that couldn't be ignored. I decided to reassess the deal. I told Mr. Thompson that I needed to consult with my partners. In negotiation, the power lies with the one willing to walk away. As I got into my car, my legal counsel, Lily, joined me. She was a brilliant 28-year-old with a sharp mind and a no-nonsense attitude. "Lily, Jake isn't going to let this go. He's a narcissist with a bruised ego. He'll try to sabotage this deal," I said. Lily nodded and said, "I'll start looking into his digital footprint. We need to know who he's talking to and what he's up to." Sure enough, Lily found out that Jake had been in contact with the VP of Acquisitions at Zenith Corp, our biggest rival. Zenith was known for being aggressive and cutting corners. Jake was trying to shop the deal around, thinking he could get a better offer and prove himself to his father. I decided to let him dig his own grave. I told Lily to spread a rumor that Nova Mergers was cooling on the acquisition. Jake took the bait. He thought he had one, and he threw a party at a fancy rooftop bar. He posted pictures and videos on social media, bragging about his so-called victory. One of the videos he posted showed him with the VP of Zenith Corp, which was a breach of the exclusivity clause in our letter of intent. I had him right where I wanted him. While Jake was partying, I was on a conference call with the three main suppliers of Sterling Industries. I explained to them that there was instability in the company's leadership and that if they pivoted to Jake's crazy crypto venture, their contracts would likely be voided. I offered them long-term supply contracts with Nova mergers, guaranteeing volume and a percentage above the current market rates. By the end of the day, I had signed exclusivity agreements with all three suppliers. I had just cut off Sterling Industries' lifeline. Lily also found evidence of Jake's embezzlement. He had been billing the company for consulting fees to his own shell companies and subcontracting maintenance work that never happened. Over 4 years, he had embezzled $3 million. I met with Mr. Thompson at a fancy restaurant. He looked like a broken man. The rumor of my withdrawal had hit him hard. I showed him the evidence of Jake's embezzlement and told him that if it went public, the Sterling name would be ruined and the stock would plummet. I told Mr. Thompson that I still wanted the company, but on the original terms and without Jake. He was hesitant at first, but he knew that I was his only hope. Jake had a press conference scheduled to announce his new crypto venture. I told Mr. Thompson to let him go ahead and make a fool of himself. On the day of the press conference, I watched the live stream in my office. Jake bounded onto the stage, wearing a ridiculous black turtleneck. He rambled on about how Sterling Industries was going to launch a new cryptocurrency and enter a strategic partnership with Zenith Corp. The stock dropped immediately. As soon as he announced the IP share, I called the CEOs of the suppliers. They triggered the breach clauses and cut off all supplies to Sterling Industries. Jake was in complete disarray when a journalist asked him about the core manufacturing contracts. He tried to improvise, but it was a disaster. Then, Mr. Thompson walked onto the stage. He looked solemn and said, "My son is mistaken. There's no cryptocurrency, and there's no partnership with Zenith Corp. As of this morning, there is no chief innovation officer." The room erupted. Jake was dragged off the stage, screaming and accusing me of setting him up. 2 days later, Mr. Thompson asked to meet at a neutral club. He had signed the original purchase agreement, but I told him that I couldn't sign it. I explained that the company's supply chain was broken, and I had bought the exclusive rights to the suppliers. I offered him a new deal, at 60% of the original valuation, but with a clause to retain the entire workforce. Mr. Thompson realized he had no choice. He signed the new agreement. My team moved into the Sterling building, and we started the transition. One day, I got a security alert that Jake was trying to get into the building. He was denied access, and when Lily served him with a formal notice of disinheritance and a restraining order, he finally realized that his game was over. 6 months later, here I am, on the stage of the National Economic Forum, a keynote speaker for the Future of Manufacturing panel. The acquisition of Sterling Industries had been a masterclass in stabilization. The stock was up 40%, and the suppliers were happy. As I look out at the sea of faces, I see Jake in the hallway, arguing with a Secret Service agent. He's wearing a polo shirt 2 sizes too big with a temp agency logo on it. He sees me, and the color drains from his face. I look him in the eye for a few seconds, showing him that I'm indifferent. I then walk past him, not looking back. I've finally achieved my goal, and for the first time in a long time, I don't think about Jake Thompson at all. This is the story of how I turned a corporate battle into a victory, and how I made sure that arrogance and incompetence were punished.